we all know why we are here, right? I'm just like dancing behind Morten. This is Morten Holst. He is Norwegian, Scandinavian, you know. He used to work and still works with probably the best media outlets, I could say, in Scandinavia, media representatives. Yeah, in Scandinavia. Right now he has some connections with Ukrainian IT in Insoft. Innocode.
Yeah.
And basically helps businesses to thrive using media. And so today we will talk about that, swimming with sharks, digital strategies. Yeah, well, can be like that.
Thank you, guys. I'm told to use this mic. I hate it, but I will try to be good. I always do that. It's really cool to be here. I am a guy that is driven by stuff I think is fun. And this is something I really think is fun. So I'm here to have fun and to probably also pick up some good ideas. So I rely on you guys to learn me stuff that I didn't know. So is this working? Sure. Or yeah, I think this is better. Thanks. I have no plan. But that is my plan, basically. And I think if you attend these 2 days, I think that is some of the things that you will have as a takeaway. To try to plan for the media future is really, really possible. And then we need kind of other strategies to cope. And there, change and improvisation and continuous strategic thinking, that's probably the way to go. So we can all leave now, because that's basically what this is about. So the title, The Art of Swimming with Sharks. Who would the sharks be? Do you have any idea? Big companies.
Like competitors?
Yeah. Maybe. Definitely. Other?
Maybe government.
That's fun. I don't think nobody in Norway would have said government, but maybe. Why?
Owners of media?
Big media.
Big media. Yeah.
Owners?
Actually,
Owners of media?
also interesting. Actually, what I was thinking about was like the big companies and the companies that have really caused this industry great pain, and that's the global social media. It's Google. It's like a disruptor in the industry that has made, in a way, indirectly, all the troubles for the media industry. But basically, we shouldn't blame them. We should blame ourselves for our own problems, because they didn't really cause our problems. We caused it on ourselves. So it could be a tag there saying Google, it could be Facebook, it could be whatever. So when I choose to call this Swimming with Sharks, it's basically because as an industry, when we build our strategies, we need to survive and find ways to thrive, because I don't think we could put Facebook out of business. I think Google will stay around for a while yet. So we need to cope. And we even need to see how can we turn these companies and their business into our advantage, basically. So another variant of this would be the art of swimming with sharks, how media strategies impact your chance to survive in the digital world. Because that's what this is about. When we discuss media strategy, it's all about surviving. And another variant of that, of course, is something you can make yourself. Whatever. Because this is kind of, when we talk about strategy and media strategy, it's so important. It's so important. And it's so much undone. And what is done is often not very impressive. I will visit that later on, of course. For this talk, I have some plan, but the plan will break down very soon. So first of all, I will need to introduce myself. This is me, by the way. My wife is back there. When she hear about me using her in the photo, she will kill me. So that will be a secret. This is doing kayaking just next to our house, actually. I love doing outdoor stuff, kayaking, skiing, kiting, stuff that I make the world great. And I love really working with media. So my background has been like 20 years in the media industry, in national-wide brands. I think I've been really lucky. So I can advise you to follow the same path that I have done. And that is to be quite mediocre, not very intelligent, probably not the best at all, but to work with great people. So if you do that as a strategy, it's not so much what you do, but it's who you actually do it with. So if you work with great people, you will learn so much. And that's been my privilege throughout 20 years in this industry. I've been working with really great people. So it's a free tip for your further career. I will tell a little bit more later on kind of what we learned. But when I started in the industry, it's kind of 1995, then internet was basically something curious. Not many people were using it, and when we did, it was slow. You really needed patience to use it. But everybody was discussing it. The dot-com hype was starting up. So everybody believed that internet was the future. Later on, we got the really dot-com hype, where money just poured into the industry, and all kinds of crazy ideas could be put into motion. And the first thing you did, you bought yourself a private jet, basically. And then if there was something left over, you did other crazy stuff. And then you went bankrupt and started another company. That was kind of the start of the internet era, as I remember it. And it was really great to be part of it, but it was also like, what is going on? Is this possible? How is this actually working? Is there any grown-ups here? What's happening? But we learned a lot from them, and of course it crashed. And everybody, even the big media houses, left more or less all their investment and went back to the safe bet, which was the old stuff that they have been doing. So people were laid off, the online department were cut back. Everybody did this around 2000, and they did it globally, with some exceptions. And I happened to work in one of the exceptions, and that was the Schibsted. Schibsted was a media company, the #1 in Scandinavia, and they were in a position where they could kind of use their head because they were not on the stock market. So they kind of had a visionary manager, and he saw that, okay, we have a temporary dip, but internet is going to happen. So when everybody cut back, we will just keep on investing into the internet. And that made them into the biggest online media in Scandinavia, and they gave them positions that they still make them into industry leader. So, and it was great being part of that. I was part of that basically then from a TV channel. Later on, I moved on to the #1 online newspaper, and we did kind of everything everything that is kind of obvious now, like TV, like mobile, paid online editorial content. We had to figure that out, and we needed to fight through it. So that's me. By the way, this is my colleagues in the office. Just have to tell you, if I drop dead, it's because of the flu that I got. These ladies in the office, they saved me by actually finding all the pills they had in the office, and that was a lot. I hate pills, but actually for you guys, I was willing to eat strange blue and green stuff that I never ever had taken a chance on before. Hmm? The pills?
No.
Yeah. This is Allah and Susanna in our Ukrainian office. And that was a good cue to another thing about me and my company. Currently, I work in a company called Innocode, and when I visit new customers in Norway and I tell about the company, I have to tell them that we are a Norwegian company, but really we have the head office in Lviv, Ukraine. And that's where we have the brain power there, and that's where we have kind of the really, really professional people. We have an office in Lviv and in Kiev, but much more people here in Lviv, and this is where it all started. Great people, 45 people now working with us, and they are the one that kind of really push us forward. So I've been in Lviv, I guess, 30 times, and I love the city, and I love bringing Norwegian guests to this city because they're just amazed of the city and the culture and how friendly people are, and yeah, everything. It's just great to bring people here. And then, so this is kind of some snapshots from Innocode, our company. We have a great villa that we renovated and moved into last summer. It's really cold in the wintertime, but the guys really love it. So this is something we really believe in. In order, I mentioned for you guys, having fun is important. If you have fun, you could do really, really incredible things. And to work together in a way that where people kind of appreciate and get to know each other and feel that they are part of something, it's really, really important if you want to build something. And we are proud of what we have achieved. People stay at Innocode because they love working there. And sometimes people move on, and we love that too, because then we have enabled people to grow and to see kind of other challenges. So this is kind of Innocode and a big part of my life. And then we have you. You know, when I start to think, okay, I'm meeting with these guys, they probably look like this. It was a relief to see that you were kind of look a bit better. But what about you guys? Could you tell me a little bit about like your expectations? What you do, background? I don't have time for everybody, but if could someone please tell me a little bit about where you come from and what you would like to hear and what is important for you? Or do you want me to just be very evil and just pick one?
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Is it working? Yeah. Okay, so my name is Andrew and I'm studying here at the Social Pedagogy program. And currently I'm working on the research, like a scholar, as the previous year, about social media and its impact on the teenagers. That's why I'm here. That's why I want to hear like some new topics, new things, you know, like, yeah, that's what I'm really passionate about, and that's why I'm here. So I expected this. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, cool. But what would you? Wait a minute. Yes, what do you really want to do when you're finished here?
When I finish here, finish my scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm going to my master degree, and I mean, I want to develop this area in the area of social projects, in the area of social pedagogy and social media. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm from Kiev. I'm studying law, but I work as a tour guide, and I've established my own touristic bureau, Prime Tourist Bureau, and I'm working with media content right now. I'm doing some social media stuff there, so I'm really interested in this stuff. And yeah, why not? Broaden horizons, and I have no idea what I'm going to do for master's, so I think it's a great way to explore some new stuff here and maybe understand what I want to do in life. Yeah, except from tours for foreigners. By the way, if you need a tour, welcome.
Give me your card because we
Okay, I have a business card with me.
we bring guests and
Okay.
we sometimes we use guided tours.
Yeah, perfect.
and-
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
cool.
Great. Any other volunteers?
Oh, I can try.
Yeah, great.
Hello, my name is Anna. I'm also from Kyiv. We actually studied together in Kyiv Mogila Academy, but I graduated some years ago. Now I work for the World Bank in Ukraine, and I'm doing some communication stuff, and we work a lot with different media and digital media, so I just would like to know more and deep my knowledge in this sphere.
Cool. And what kind of position will you end up in?
Oh, I don't know where I will end up in, but currently I'm communications manager, and we are doing a project on improving transport and infrastructure in Kyiv.
Cool. That's really interesting. Other volunteers? Your side? Yeah, great. Sorry for doing this torturing stuff.
Hello, my name is Yulia. I'm from Rivne region, but now I live and study in Kyiv. I am a student of Ukrainian Leadership Academy, that's a special program of our development. And in the nearest future, I want to work in media. So it's interesting for me.
Cool. And why do you want to work in media?
Why?
Yeah?
Because it's very interesting, and I can meet new people and speak with them. I'm enjoying doing it.
Okay. And will you work in media like on the management side, or would you like to do journalism, or what kind of?
Like journalism.
Cool. Other than I was asked, thank you very much. I was asked about if it's important to save traditional media yesterday. What do you think? Is it important to save traditional media? Yeah, traditional media is like, call it any media with a newsroom and with an editor and with that are working with the, let's call it the normal ethics of journalism. That was just top of my head. So it is important to save it.
I think that if is it interesting for people, then it will be saved. But if it's not interesting, that's why.
Cool. So, if it doesn't survive, it deserves to die, basically. Yeah, I agree, but do we need it? Is it important? Is it, but then we could rephrase it. How important is it that they develop in a way that makes them interesting for people?
So it can be some new format of TV, of some programs, new format of news, not like people who just read this news, but something like broke the wall, broke the fourth wall.
Mm.
Is it called? More informal in meetings.
Mm.
My point of view, if we talk about normal media, not about social networks or internet like Telegram channels or something like that.
Interesting. Okay, rules of engagement during these talks. Please interrupt, please ask me questions, please tell me that I'm so wrong, but because very, very often I'm wrong. Often I've said that my job is to be wrong in interesting ways. Often I'm wrong in boring ways, but then I just don't do my job. I think it's important to save journalism, actually. But at the same time, I see that journalism have one huge problem, and that's journalists. Because they seem to be incapable of actually evolving into what you call interesting for people. They seem to be stuck in old ways of working, all ideas of what is good, and that's a huge problem. And it's not a huge problem because businesses are dying, because that's basically all business have like a mandate, and that's to die if they don't deserve to survive, like you said. I need to do that as a quote, actually. And you give me your name, and I can put your name on it. So this is stuff that I will cover today, because I think, in a way, I think it's a good thing that people that don't cope die. That's basically what, like, industries and businesses that are incapable of actually doing change in a good way, they should die with dignity, in a way. And it's not very, very important to save all businesses. When I discuss this and media strategies, I'm not that interested in saving all organizations. Often I think it would probably be a good way to see new organizations come up, new initiatives, because that's much, much easier when it comes to handling change. If you have to cope with all the luggage that you need to drag on, it makes it so much harder to cope with. But there, so I see that we need journalism. I work with American newspapers now, and I guess you have heard about the news deserts. It's thousands of US towns with no newspaper, because they have died. And what's happened when there is no newspaper, no local journalism present at the city hall, where business do their deals, suddenly the society is a lot less transparent than it used to be. And this is a pain many US cities is actually starting to feel, that corruption increase, efficiency drop. So it's kind of a problem. Okay. This is nature's way to tell me that I should kind of move on, I guess. There we go. And another thing that the cities that is without any newspaper anymore miss is kind of the glue, the social glue that was important for the community. It's suddenly gone. And then that is why and when they realize that Facebook is probably not the tool they need in the society, because the newspaper actually do a better job, traditionally, if they do a good job. And then, of course, there's a reason why it died, because it probably didn't do its job in a good way. But I think when we look into media strategies, it's like, how can we build something that people need? How can we build something that the society needs? Because then we are doing something really important. And doing important stuff is also fun, normally. Okay, and this is probably a very good quote. Yeah, I got some questions from you guys, so I just wanted to, I think it's from you, or it was probably someone in the administration just making it up. And one of the questions is how to create an efficient and long-lasting digital media strategy. It's a good question, but I think it's also a really, really big mistake in that question, actually. One of you...
Long lasting.
Yes!
But it could be a strategy long lasting, just to be ready to changes.
Yes. If your strategy is change, then it would be probably long-lasting. But change is probably not in itself a strategy, I think, because it could be, but it's more like a, I don't know.
Idea.
But the idea of building a long-lasting strategy is dangerous, because it kind of inbreds expectation of something stable, of a plan, of answers. So if you're looking for that, you should probably go to another business than the media study. And I have a hard time coming up with a business and industry that are not constantly changing these days. They all do. Even the funeral industry change a lot these days. So kind of looking for something that is long-lasting, don't do that. But anyway, we will look into how to build robust strategies. This kind of, or how to do strategic thinking in a robust way. It's good. But then, actually, this is something that had bothered me for a long time. In all the organizations I've been working with, this is the people's expectations of a strategy. They want to have a document, and that document should be kind of written in stone, because it should be lasting. It's something they can memorize, and then they can dictate all their behavior and all their decisions for eternity. And to explain people that is not going to happen, then you kind of feel like a bad strategy manager or whatever. How to engage the target audience in the process of communicate more efficiently with the help of different digital tools. Yeah. We will touch it with some stories, I think. But this is also always evolving, and I think kind of it's a good question, but the answer will always be to understand the user's needs, to really be interested in what is the audience basic needs, what do they want to, how do they want to consume your product, what is it they need, what is I'm constantly looking for digital pains. What are the digital pains these days that we could solve, that make easier? So this is definitely something we will touch, but don't expect me to bring forward some fantastic digital storytelling tools. That won't happen. How to form and distribute meaningful, relevant content and key messages through the digital media and receive good coverage. I think the former answer applies to that as well. But it's interesting that meaningful is a key word here. So how can we be meaningful? And for me, meaningful means probably relevant. How can we be relevant for our readers, for our audience? And that's a key problem, actually. And when I've been working with we have like 100+ media houses that we work with in our company, and many of them we interact very, very tightly with. Few of them ask themselves this question: how can we be relevant for our users? And they should ask themselves this question every day. How to use digital storytelling in practice. I'll touch about it too, but I will not give you any tools. What I think is incredible for this industry is that we are really shitty storytellers. And that's strange. I don't know about the Ukrainian media market actually. You might be great storytellers, but for me, when I see, we know how to tell a story. We know how to write a story. We know how to present a story on TV for our audience, but we do not know how to tell our own story and the story about ourselves and the company, and we are really, really bad at telling stories about what we're going to achieve and how we want to achieve it to our own employees. We are really, really shitty building brands, especially the newspaper industry. So storytelling is kind of a blind spot for many newspapers and many media organizations out there, actually, which kind of I think is weird. But probably is like, I won't speculate anymore on that one, but I will touch upon this probably, hard to say. And then how to integrate the social media feeds to the website and provide readers with specific content and get more attention to the website, which is kind of a recipe. You will probably not get any recipe from me. But I think it's an interesting question when it comes to how, because what I see in that question is how can we utilize what's there in a way that benefits us? And that's a good question. How can we do stuff like that? And I see it so often not asked, because when we work with with our own media strategy, we really should see how can we benefit from what's out there. How can we piggyback on social media? How can we avoid being stupid idiots for Facebook and Zuckerberg? How can we turn the cards? How can we use them as our useful tools in a way that they maybe didn't plan for? And I'm pretty sure that the answer is out there. We have found some of them. We have worked with newspapers that have implemented that kind of strategies and find that it's working. I'm pretty sure there's lots of opportunities out there if you start looking. And I think we need to start looking. So that's what's the question. Are there other things that you think I should touch through? Yeah, you could ask me in pauses and whatever. I have some kind of headlines. So this is as close as you will get to a plan. But my plan is that the plan will break down soon with your help, actually. So a survival guide to use for strategic thinking in a media world that really, really needs it. And it needs it. Because I've been working in this industry for 20 years, and basically we do the same stuff that we did 20 years ago. Basically. I will show you examples of it. We can discuss it. but this is what I see. We have basically not changed much. We need another way to work, actually, or we need to die. Thinking high and low. Strategic thinking in a fast-changing environment. Because when you look, I will touch about that some slides down here, kind of what is strategy? What is the normal, what do you learn when you go and learn about strategic methods, for instance? Most of them requires you to stop the word. Like everything should just stop because you need to make your plan. And there are so many moving parts that it's very hard to apply those methods to strategy. So we learn kind of how should we think in a way that actually make it possible to cope with change and actually do change within a strategy. Probably something I hope to touch. And then the normal pitfalls. You're still wrong, even though everybody else is wrong. Actually, I think I will ask you to go deeper into that later on. This is a quote that you could read. And why is it there? For no other reasons that I love Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you haven't read him, do it. So what is this strategy thing anyway? When do I need to take a break?
In 35 minutes.
Great. This strategy thing, how much have you studied strategy? No one? No?
Usually just create strategy for 1 week.
Okay, how do you work with strategy then? So do you know strategy? Do you know the kind of the theoretics about it? Like, do you know the methods? Great. I'm the wrong guy to ask about strategy. Really. I've done strategy work for several organizations, and I started it as a young guy coming out from university with lots of ideas on how it should do or should be done, and I think it failed miserable every time. Not that the strategy was wrong in any way, but I think the way we did it was like from the textbooks. We worked for month and month, very, very detailed analysis, very detailed plans, and then we ended up with something like this, truly, and no one read it. Which was probably the best thing that could happen, because if they had read it, thing will just go catastrophically wrong. So no kind of the problem was contained to a small group of people working with all these details. I have worked with lots of different ways. I come from a very kind of Norway is like a democratic, equal society. Everybody want to argue with the boss. Everybody think he is the boss. And this is actually true. And decisions is very often made in a consensus way, where everybody has a voice. in an environment like that, it's actually very important to have a strategy, like a guiding tool, something that can direct you, something that can point you to the right way. So that's kind of why it's important to work with a strategy. But also, it's important to not involve everybody, because I've done that. And in TV2, after the financial, or during the financial crisis, there was a huge crisis. And when people see an economical crisis emerge, what do? They cut costs immediately. And that, of course, are strengthening the downturn, and everything is going shitty. So we needed to work with a strategy after we had laid off hundreds of people. And for some reason, I was asked to include everybody in the strategy. Then I had two choices. One was to make a true strategic involvement where everybody kind of had their say, and we could all then make some great out of it. And the end result would probably be catastrophic. Or we could make something that looked like a strategy process, but where everybody ended up where we wanted them to end up. We choose, of course, the last option. So who should work with a strategy?
Strategist.
The management
The management?
and all the team.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Truly, I don't know. But I think the answer is that you need an overall strategy. But you need an overall strategy that everybody know can change tomorrow, because a strategy is not a license to be stupid. And that means when something emerges, like a new opportunity, you should seize upon that opportunity if it makes sense. If not, you should skip it. But when that opportunity arrives, you should validate the opportunity. You should see if it makes sense. If it makes sense, well, you change the strategy. And then when you change the strategy, then something happens, because there are lots of people that need new strategies to deliver to the top strategy in a way, and then stuff start to happen. I looked into, this was quite interesting, I looked into kind of how do people define strategy. This is one. Business strategy can be understood as the course of action or set of decisions which assist the entrepreneurs in achieving specific business objectives. Does this make sense for you guys? It makes sense. So it's a master plan that the management can use to secure a competitive position in the market, carry on its operations, please customers, and achieve the desired ends of the business. Interesting. Who wouldn't have a master plan that could achieve all this stuff? It's great. Call me if you find a plan like this. Another one, the definition of business strategy is a long-term plan of action designed to achieve a particular goal or set of goals or objectives. A business strategy is a set of guiding principles that, when communicated and adopted in the organization, generates a desired pattern of decision making.
Where's goals?
Always true. This is kind of a way to describe kind of how stuff is interconnected. You have goals. I would actually put vision before the goals, but never mind. Then you have the strategy and research and innovation and teamwork and growth, but this is just one way to look upon this. There's so many other ways. And it's so many complicated ways that you won't believe it. It's a relief that you haven't studied strategy for many years. This is one. We could study it for a year, and it's nothing wrong here. And that is basically what I meet in my daily work. It's nothing wrong.
But it's business plan.
Yes, it's a business plan, but still a business plan comes out of a overall strategic plan, right?
Yeah, but communication is about something else.
Communication is about something else, but if you do an overall strategic plan, then it's for the products, it's for the it's for the communication, it's for the products, it's for everything. So and much of the principles are exactly the same. So if you want to do strategy for a media company, you could do all this stuff. You could do the SWOT analysis. You could do, of course, you have to do the market intelligence. You really need to dive into the business models. All this stuff is, and in every box you could find lots of great work, lots of opportunities to dive into this for a year. So the problem is all the moving parts, because when you work like this, this is in a way a process that you need to keep in your head. And you need to know it, but you also know to unknow it in a way. Have you ever had any telling you to unknow something? It seems like you haven't. This is another way. Please don't study it. Very easy way to do strategy. This is a much easier way, but also flawed in a way, because they are seeking clarity. That's a great thing to have. Clarity of direction and clarity of structure. And this is what everybody wants. Everybody wants clarity of direction. Everybody wants clarity of structure. Everybody seeks clarity of measurement. And this is what we are going to deliver. We are going to deliver the exact opposite. Because when you're working with media companies and media strategies, first of all, we need to get everybody in the organization to understand that this is not something you will ever have. And if you have this clarity, at least you have to be to know that this is something you can have this clarity, and it will be clear and true for 2 weeks, and then it's not clear anymore. But people, this is what people really want to have delivered. They want to know the truth. They want to have the direction. They want their word to be stable, and they want to know what they should do tomorrow and the day after and the day after. So to kind of work with the organization and to make them embrace the idea that this is not going to happen. That's a challenge, to create a strategy where this change is so embedded into the thinking. So if you think that I'm starting to repeat myself, we have just started. Because I cannot emphasize this enough. This need to change. And that's also why I will dive into change. I will dive into innovation. I will dive into how can we actually get the organization on board into doing new stuff. How do we work with organization like that? To create a willingness and an eagerness to change. And that's really hard, because people hate it. They really hate change. This is another one. Discovery. You make a plan, you do action, and what is missing there is then you repeat. But in all of this, it's really critical to know what's going on. to kind of have an overview. Because if you want to maneuver in the digital space, if you want to do the right decisions, you need to know what's going on around you, and that's hard. And that's probably some year ago I met with old colleagues from other competing, because in the media industry we kind of met now and then our colleagues in competing outlets. Very interesting. We kind of, because we realized that we are traditional competitors, but we are not competitors anymore. We have more common interest in this industry than not. So we started to meet, we started to discuss common problems, and because we did that, we did better than we would have on our own, actually. 10 years after, I met with 80% of them. So we were 30, 40 people meeting up after 10 years. And most of the people have actually moved on to other industries where change wasn't so happening so fast. And they told, because people were kind of told to tell about what they were doing, very many of them told me that they lost the grip. They didn't have the energy to cope with all the change, and they felt after a while that the energy needed to actually stay in touch with what was happening were so draining for them, so they just left for another industry where they can rest and stuff was not going so fast. So how do you know what's going on without getting sick? Without kind of dropping dead of exhaustion and burnout in your brain. I can't tell you that I have mastered this, but I'm still here in a way. And there are some tricks to it. Because in a way it's really, really impossible to keep track of everything that's happening in this industry. Because it's a technology, it's a user habits, it's the services, it's all the competitors, it's everything that happens. And it's so extremely many moving parts. So if you really want to keep track of it, someone has tried. This is Trend and Technology Timeline 2010 and forward. And if you study this, you really are none the wiser. When you have this by heart, you really don't know anything. Another example is this, made by Gartner, that make kind of a digital marketing transit map. This is kind of an overview over the technology landscape for marketing. Lots of stuff going on. Many companies, many technologies. But what you need to know is you need to know the value flow, the value chain. You need to know how is money generated. How do they make their money? How do they make what? How is value created in the business that we are in? Why do a media company, when they sell an ad, actually keep maybe 20% of the value actually delivered? Who is sitting with with the rest, and what will happen there? Because there are disruptive players here. It's happening all the time. So in a way, you can study all of this, but you need to have the overview, and you need to have an idea. You need to have an understanding of what's going on. You need to kind of know the basics, the overview. Really, really important. If you do not, then it's hard to build a strategy. And you could do it even more complicated, because there's stuff going on outside there as well. So how do we cope? How do we, as individuals, cope with all this stuff? How do we get enough information to be able to build sound hypothesis, because that's basically what you have to do. You need to kind of build a model of what's going on. We need to extrapolate into the future, and we need to do educated guesses, bets on what's going on in order to position ourselves based on what's going on. But if you need to stop the world to do all this, then you are probably not going to be a great success. Yeah, well, do you have any suggestions how to cope with this?
With this?
Not this. And this is a great idea that grows out of this. This is a kind of the brainchild that will turn into this great success that will benefit your company for many, many years. But how do you have ideas on how would you cope with it? When you are building strategies, how would you keep track of the industry? How would you keep, what do you need to know?
The most important is to know your customer needs, you know, so,
Yeah.
because, and you need to have a conversation with your customer, you need to ask your
Yeah, you need to know the needs of your customers, the fears of your customers, and you need to speak with them. Not just assume that maybe they need it, but like have a conversation, have the interview. It's usually boring, it usually takes a lot of time, but you still need to make it. And some of the businesses, some of the social services, they are not doing this. And that's why they fail. Yeah, that's my point.
Great. Yeah. But you don't. I 100% agree with you. You need to know the customer needs, and you need to talk with them. Cover that later on. But you also need to know what's going on in the industry. If you want to answer, if you want to create solutions on the customer needs, you also need to know what's going on. You need to know kind of how, because one thing is to deliver on the needs, but you also need to build a sound business model around it. You need to know how to interact with the other competitors, the other sharks out there. So we also need to find a way to do that. I will come back to this. Another way to see this is what they called an emergent strategy. This is a definition I found on the internet, searching for it. The emergent strategy occurs by chance or happens within the organization without any long-term planning. It occurs from the day-to-day decisions made to run the company at a tactical and routine level of the company. What do you think about this? Sounds nice. Did anyone said anything? No?
I think it's not like a global strategy, but most like a vision, what we should do in the next days.
You hear that? Like, not like a strategy, more like a vision? Because my problem with this is, first of all, I think this is true to most successes actually. I think most of the successes we have seen has happened exactly like that. And then they are great storytellers and they tell about how they build the strategy after the strategy, or after the success. I've done that many times. I've been invited to Asia to tell about our great success, and then we sit there and they said, oh, we can't tell the audience that this was just pure luck. We need to come up with a great story, and then we tell them how we build this strategy, and then we did this, and then we got this. But basically, it was just a willingness to try, and then, wow, it worked. And then we do not tell about the 99 failures that we did, which is also true. So this is this is real life, but it's not a strategy. And luck, in a way you need luck in order to be a success. You could be extremely clever, but without luck you will probably fail. I'm sorry to say that. But luck is, as a friend used to tell me, luck is an ability. It's something that you kind of can develop in how you kind of plan for luck. So I really don't like this. I think the answer how to build a strategy is between this and all the former stuff I showed you. And of course, we'll definitely emphasize on, as you say, asking and understanding the needs. But when you work with that, you also need to understand the trends. You need to understand what's going on. You need to understand how people that are behind everybody, how they act, their needs, how they kind of use media, how they fulfill kind of their needs. And to really understand that and to respect kind of that behavior, because that's another problem that journalism or journalists often stumble into. They do not really respect other habits that do not include their work. And that's a huge problem, because if you try to use or to make products and services for an audience you do not respect, then you have a huge problem, actually. So it's a difference also between strategy and strategic thinking. If I could choose between them, I would rather have people in my organization that knew how to apply strategic thinking on an everyday basis than people that were geniuses when it comes to building a strategy. So I have a model. I call it Morten's model. It's very, very easy. It's what's going on, what's likely to happen, and is there any opportunities for us in there? And if there are, let's check it with our vision and why we are here. Because that's also important. Why are we here? Okay, many are here to make money, but media organizations are unique in some ways, and because many of them actually have another mission than just making money. Many have a mission for the society, they have for transparency, they have goals for enlightenment of the audience, lots of kind of other reasons for why they want to survive and what they want to do. So you kind of need to check the opportunity with those, let's call it the guiding stars that you have. But in a way, it's so simple and it's so difficult. Could someone you please disagree very strongly with this?
I disagree that it's your own model. It sounds like Zen Buddhist philosophy or something.
Like,
It sounds like Zen Buddhist philosophy.
is that a good or bad thing?
It's just happening.
Okay, maybe I should change career.
It's for everything. It's the strategy for life.
Yes, yes.
You can use it for the relationship, for your job, everywhere.
Yeah. So it's crap, really.
Is it? We can add how can we use it,
Right.
or
But-
how we going to use it.
Yeah. In a way, but in it, it's simplified. It's really, really simplified, but it's also very advanced and very hard to do. Because what's going on? You need to know what's going on. And then you need to create a model in your head, and you need to create an understanding in the organization. Because it's no use to be the one genius in the organization that have the clear idea of what's going on. You need to communicate that. That's a really, really hard part of working with strategy for a company, is to communicate, to do the storytelling, to onboard people into your idea of what's going on. And what's going on is to see what's really important out there. And it's so much going on that often it can be easier not to study the news every day, because lots of that is just noise. Often when you do this job good, and you have a good understanding of what's going on, then you're actually also able to have a fairly good idea of what's going to happen in a broader perspective. I can give you one example. Do you have time for an example? 7 minutes. Good. I've been asked to also give you tasks, so I will give you tasks, so you will not be forced to listen to me all the time. But for now, you have to listen to this story. And the story is also about how to kind of understand what's going on, how to deduct what's coming to happen. And then it's a story about how organizations is very, very often totally unable to act on that knowledge. Because that is what you're going to meet. You're going to meet situations where you know for a fact what the organization needs to do. And then you will find that the organization is unable to act for many, many reasons. And that's the hardest thing. So I used to say, there's a reason why I started to work with strategy. One of them is an interest for it. Another one is that when I was younger, I was kind of for me, that was the kind of the top, the best, the noblest, the most, you get my drift. Really, really the best thing you could work with. The one thing that I really had, I saw as important. These days, I would say that strategists are kind of people, it's not that hard. What is really hard, the heroes, that's the people that act on the strategy, the people that actually implement the strategy, that's the heroes. Because that's a hard thing. They are the ones that need to change. They are the ones that actually have to deliver the results. That's hard. That's so hard. The tactical part of implementing a strategy is really, really the tough stuff. And then you can just imagine the frustration if the strategy they have to do all this hard work on is wrong. That's not, and that's what normally happens, and that's why it will become even harder to do the changes later on, because they know the history. Last time they come with this strategy, it was really, really wrong. It failed, and we did all this sweat and all this work for nothing. And now they come with a new answer, and it's probably wrong again. Okay, the story. I didn't forget. In 1999, the management group in TV2 went to Las Vegas for the National Broadcaster Association. It's a trade show. It's huge. Have you been in Las Vegas? It's crazy. It's like 150,000 delegates. You have no chance to cover it all. It's so many exhibitions and so huge. So we went there to learn. And when we were there, we realized that on-demand TV would emerge. We didn't know when, but we saw it. And then we started to see, okay, real on-demand TV. What will happen? What will happen with our business model? What will happen with user behaviors? What will happen? This was like 1990 something, just before 2000. Then we realized that everything that we built our business on would collapse. We were sure. It was so easy. We saw that, okay, when people can see what they want to see, when they want to see it, where they want to see it, then carriers like broadcasters that are on the top of the value chain will probably be replaced by other players, because then it will be a war between the people in the value chain and the people that is, at that time, distribution was king. We were distribution. We had a distribution. We saw that it will be content owner, right owner. They will be on the top. They will be the one. So now they kind of push their content to us, and we earn the money on their work. They will bypass all of us, and they will go directly to the consumer. They will build their own brands. They will say to the TV station, sorry, this content is ours, and we want to do the top dollars by having a direct relationship with the consumer. And when the content is getting old, you might have it. So we started to build, we started to see, okay, this is going to happen. We were so sure about it. So we started to see, okay, what do we do to do in a world like that? We need to establish, we need to do two things. We need to be right owners. We need to invest in our own content, to have control of our own content. And we need to build the #1 platform for streaming content. So when HBO, and it's Natur's way again to tell me to hurry up. When
2 minutes.
So when the right owners with their new products emerge, and they will try to break into the Norwegian market, we will have all registered inhabitants as our customers. Instead of trying to break into there, they will negotiate with us, and we will be in a position still. That was the plan. What happened, do you think? Did it work? It didn't work. It didn't work because there's another problem when you work with strategy. It's the timing. Because a board, the board, we presented the plan, and the board said, yeah, this is great, yeah, we see the reason we need to invest, and we need to really push forward, and we need to do it. But then time goes, and then it's really, really hard for owners that need to do quarterly result reporting to the stock exchange to keep a 10-year master plan that will give you a payback 10 years into the future. That's really, really hard. So when you work with strategy, you need to kind of also plan for this kind of stuff. You need to see that if you need to build positions, you need to find a strategy and a way to actually implement that can be applied as you go, without draining resources for year and year and year, because then it will be killed, even though everybody knows it's right. So we did all the right things. We built, TV2 started to build more content. They are pretty good at it right now, actually. So they do Norwegian content, and they're being better and better on that strategy. During the 19 years since we discovered this stuff, they have gone out and in of that strategy many times. Now they are firmly there again, and they wish that they have been there for the past 19 years too. But of course, stuff happens, and new management, and yeah. And when it comes to, and we actually started to build the online platform as well, with streaming content. Slowly, but we did the right position, but then it started really to grow. It started to become a very, very important source of digital revenue for the TV station. Then, what happens then? You tend then to forget that this initiative was not to make money now, it was to build a strategic position for the future. And when the money starts coming in, then you start to organize for, then you have an account manager, and you do budget, and then when you have and you measure people on the profit, and then you start to measure people on the profit, they are so willing to forget about the strategic work they are doing. Because if you can change a strategic gain for the future into a bonus on on this year's salary, they choose the salary. So that's basically what happened. So when HBO, Netflix, several of the right owners, Disney is coming, of course, came, TV2 was in a weak bargaining position, and they couldn't resist. So they never got in a position to actually do a fair bargaining with them. So, but of course, then they really started to push, but then it was like 10 years late. That was the story. So it's possible, but what happened is often that you crash because your horizon is too long or is too expensive, the timing is wrong. Everything there actually had to align in a good way. And that's also very, very hard. And every time you crash, the next change you want to implement, the next strategy is even harder. That's probably why you get fired, and then